I just got to dive inside a kelp forest for the first time ever, and it was so beautiful. Sadly, kelp forests are disappearing around the world.
One of the biggest problems is that sea urchins have been eating them, and nothing is eating the sea urchins.
It's like a vast parking lot of urchins, and that's why I feel obligated to do something about it.
These urchins have eaten over 90% of North American kelp forests in the last decade, and they won't die. When they're out of food, they stop growing and can enter a zombie state for years, just waiting for kelp to show up. The answer may be bringing back sea urchins' natural predators.
We're looking for otters that have flipper tags.
Got our first sea otter sighting.
We know they're very hungry when their stomach's just sticking out. That guy's ready for,
He's ready.
for
He
some
knows.
food. They love to eat urchins.
How could you not want sea otters back? We're here in Monterey, California, where we're meeting an environmentalist who's working to restore kelp forests. One of the biggest problems is that there's too many urchins eating them. And this guy is trying to do something about that problem.
Keith Rutsert has been a scuba diver for decades. When he saw the kelp begin to disappear, he decided to start his own nonprofit to try to bring the kelp forests back.
So where are we headed to?
Headed out where the urchins are and where the kelp needs to be.
Are they easy to find, the urchin barrens?
Yeah, they're unmistakable. They're widespread. It's like a vast parking lot of urchins.
When's the first time you saw an urchin barren?
It was in 2019 is when they really started coming, and they just devastated that place.
That must have been hard to see.
It's really sad, you know,
Yeah.
to see these places get transformed into something where there's no more species anymore. And that's why I feel obligated to do something about it.
Healthy kelp forests provide habitat for hundreds of species and are one of the most productive ecosystems on Earth. They're also important in the fight against climate change as a vital carbon sink that sequesters CO2 from the atmosphere.
Yes. Just hold that right there.
And I'm not so excited to see the urchin barrens, but it'll be good to see this big problem that the kelp forests are facing.
3, 2, 1.
This place used to be an 11-acre kelp forest. Now it's a wasteland. These urchins roam across the seafloor eating any kelp they can find. Scientists estimate that in only 10 years, their population has increased by 10,000%. And now they've eaten everything. And the problem is made even worse because they won't die. They can survive for years without food. They stop growing and enter a zombie state, just waiting to come across any kelp. This makes it impossible for a new kelp forest to begin to grow here.
Removing urchins by hand isn't going to cut it, but part of the reason why we have to do that is because a lot of the predators that eat urchins are now gone or have declined dramatically. One of these predators is the sea otter. Sea otters used to be all up and down this coast, but now their numbers are a lot smaller than they used to be because of the fur trade. For example, off the coast of Oregon, there are now no sea otters at all, and they haven't been seen for more than 100 years there.
So a group of scientists, activists, and the Indigenous tribal leaders are banding together to reintroduce sea otters to the coast where they used to be.
We talk about conservation and endangered species. We don't often talk about the cultural aspects of what might be lost. Do you see the reintroduction of otters as a part of the revival of tribal culture?
Yeah, it's not all about environmental enhancement. It's part of our family that's missing.
Robert Kenta is a member of the Tribal Council for the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians. They've just received a $1.5 million grant to begin their plan for the reintroduction of sea otters.
So we're in Otter Crest.
Yeah.
There's Otter Rock. There are a lot of otter-named places around here, but there are actually no otters left, aren't there?
No, last one was hunted here right about 1909.
It's crazy how the fur trade had so many rippling effects so many years later.
Athabascan name for sea otter is and it means it's referring to them when they group up together, hold hands, and take a nap. They're holding their hands.
Yeah. Gosh, they're so cute, aren't they?
Yeah.
It would be a boon to everyone to have them back.
Mm-hmm.
How could you not want sea otters back?
Yeah, we're gaining in our understanding of how important sea otters are to this nearshore ecosystem, creating and maintaining that kelp habitat by feeding on urchins. So we want to bring back the abundance and diversity that we used to have here.
It is a special spot.
And we're going to make it even more special again.
Efforts to reintroduce the sea otter in other places have worked. In Elkhorn Slough in California, researchers began bringing back sea otters about 20 years ago. Researchers think this is a great case study for what can be done with otter reintroduction. All right, step right in.
Yep.
We're gonna be cozy.
We're visiting Elkhorn Slough with Michelle and Ron, two volunteer researchers who have led efforts to monitor the otters that were reintroduced here more than 20 years ago.
Oh,
And
is
the
that
mom
one?
is just oak, yes.
Got our first sea otter sighting. We've just set off and we've already seen so many otters around us. So Michelle, tell me about what you're doing right now.
So we're looking for otters that have flipper tags on their feet. And those are the ones that are part of our study.
And so between the combination of colors and where it's placed on their flippers, you can tell exactly
who
which
they are. Yeah.
So how many otters can you personally identify?
Out here, I can identify 75.
Wow.
Yeah. You have to also realize that I enter all that data in the computer. So we have 15,000 resites. So I'm able to, go in and put down the colors and say, okay, turquoise, turquoise, Tallulah, number 14, yellow, yellow, number 6, marigolds. Most of them have names. We have to run it by the naming committee, which is myself and Lillian. And we usually come up with something unique. Well, there's Sylvester. Yay!
You want more of that one, or you want
No,
to
we're
go on?
good, but I need a GPS.
36.812,
812
146.
146.
How old do you think that one is?
I can tell you exactly how old she is because
I
we
love
know
this
when her
wealth of
birth date
data.
was. She's only a week old.
How old?
1 week.
You're kidding.
Actually, a little younger than a week.
Oh, like a few days.
Yep.
Wow, they come out cute already.
Wow, look at them all going, getting ready to go up in the slough. They're waiting for the tide change.
There's 10 otters floating on their backs with their heads popping out. I love how they're all facing the same direction. Are they just chilling?
Yeah, they're just resting.
They're just
They've got their
resting.
heads into the wind, so the wind is hitting the back of their head.
We've been talking about otters so much for the last week, and it is so great to be able to see them up close in a healthy ecosystem, which is a great example of how bringing otter populations back can result in a thriving ecosystem. That's Andy. He's an otter expert and involved with an organization called Defenders of Wildlife, which has been introducing other animals into the wild. Hello, Andy.
Hello.
Nice to see you here.
Fancy meeting you out here.
What are you working on in regards to sea otters right now?
Trying to organize discussions around this concept of reintroduction. We played a big role in their disappearance, and I think it would balance the scales a little bit if we played a role in their restoration.
Do you think it's actually viable to reintroduce sea otters in the future?
I think it's viable to reintroduce sea otters because we've basically done it. Here in Elkhorn Slough, starting in the early 2000s, we started taking pups that were reared by surrogate females at the Monterey Bay Aquarium and released them systematically into Elkhorn Slough, a few every year.
So Elkhorn Slough is sort of a success story for otter reintroduction.
I think it's a huge success story.
It's incredible how quickly these ecosystems seem to be able to bounce back after you add in the predators that were missing.
We often are too involved with the idea of what can we get out of these systems? What can we harvest? What can we exploit? And we end up over-harvesting and over-exploiting, and then the system is out of balance. But I think if we can control what we try to take out of an environment and try to restore the natural balance, then it does happen quite quickly. We see the restoration occur and things come back into balance very, very quickly.
So kelp forests are in trouble in large part because sea urchin populations are out of control. Now, otters aren't their only predators. There's also sunflower sea stars. Unfortunately, they're also missing from the ecosystem, but we're going to a lab that is trying to bring them back. So where are we?
We're at Sunflower Star Laboratory here in Moss Landing, California.
And what happens here?
The magic.
Sunflower sea stars are the world's largest sea stars. They can grow to be 1 meter in diameter. They have up to 15,000 tube feet to crawl along the sea floor and suck up whatever food they can find. They're also a keystone predator.
I'm really excited because MJ, the lab tech, is taking a sunflower sea star out of its tank and putting it into another one with a sea urchin so we can see how it chases it down and eats it.
And it wants to chase them down.
Yeah, yeah, it went right for it. It went for it. I can totally see how sunflower sea stars would provoke a fear response in urchins.
100%.
Because it is straight up hunting it down.
For sure. And even though I've been here almost 2 years, they continue to surprise me all the time.
A couple thousand sea stars down there, their urchin problem will be gone very quickly.
I think so.
If you've watched this far, maybe you like the show, think about subscribing to Possible Worlds.
This lab was created to save the sunflower sea star from near extinction. In 2013, these sea stars experienced the largest marine epidemic ever recorded. A bacterial infection killed around 6 billion of them, turning them into piles of goo and wiping them out from California.
So now what's this part?
But what's special about these sunflower sea stars, they're the ones that went out for an soak experiment that we did a couple months ago. And so for the first time, we were able to put sunflower sea stars in the ocean in California after so many years. And so they were out there for a month.
But and then you brought them back?
And I brought them back.
Oh, wow. So these have seen the world.
They've seen the ocean.
Okay.
They've got to be in Big Blue.
Yes.
And so, yeah, they all did super well. So
you're very proud of these ones.
Very, very proud.
They survived. They
did
proved
so
that the work you're doing here is actually working.
Exactly. And they came back, they tested negative for the VPEG bacteria. So, yeah, they did really well.
That's great news.
Yeah.
I have to say, after talking to all these people, I was actually left with a lot of hope and excitement. Yes, kelp forests have declined dramatically, but there are all these people working so hard to bring them back. It really seems feasible that in my lifetime, I'm going to be able to see these ecosystems bounce back.